And thank you for joining us for our quarterly reporting webinar. I know we're still going to have some more people joining us. If you will just make sure that you're muted whenever you join, we would greatly appreciate it. I'll go ahead and get us started just in the conservation of everyone's time. So again, this is the OPB quarterly reporting webinar. My name is Amanda Hawkins. I'm the grants planner with the OPB Grants Division. So some of our objectives for today's webinar is to help you as grantees to recognize your obligation to comply with the mandatory quarterly reporting. Also for OPB to assist you in understanding the SurveyMonkey Apply platform that we utilize for quarterly reporting. And also for you as a grantee to become familiar with information that is obtained during the quarterly reporting period. So the first thing I want to go through is just our reporting timeline. This information is available at all times on the OPB for Grantees website. And this is subject to change at any point in time, and we will keep it updated on the website. But basically, we go through quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4 as outlined here on the slide. So for quarter 1, January through March is covered. And that information is going to be collected at the quarterly reporting period that's April 1st through 15th. And again, that is a hard deadline of April 15th. And that reporting application that we're going to kind of walk you through today is going to be, it's going to cut off after that date. It won't be available to you after that. So there's no extensions or anything outside of that timeline. Quarter 2 will be for dates April through June, and will be open July 1st through 15th. For quarter 3, it's July through September covered, and will be available October 1st through October 15th. And then quarter 4 is going to cover October through December, and will be available January 1st through 15th.
Yeah, and it's like, he's like,
all right, so as far as reporting responsibility, it is the responsibility of the prime subrecipient to submit accurate and timely reports. Subrecipients who coordinate with contractors or subawards for reporting should establish a regular reporting framework to ensure the information is regularly available to the subrecipient for reporting purposes. It's also crucial that you keep your account contacts up to date in the portal, so that we can ensure that reporting applications and information are sent to the appropriate person. You can update an authorized user in the portal. The primary point of contact on the account level can do that themselves, or they can complete the authorized user designation form through our website and request that OPB staff make those updates for them. Additionally, we also encourage all subrecipients to work with their IT department to whitelist OPB and Georgia Grant email addresses to ensure that you're able to receive the information and communications that are being sent out to you. So just a quick note and explanation, there is a distinct difference between the Georgia Grants portal that you're all familiar with and the SurveyMonkey Apply website. So they are completely separate, and I have the two websites linked here. So the Georgia Grants portal is what you're familiar with, logging in and seeing all your information related to your grants, submitting payment requests, and so forth. And while we utilize some of the information that's in the Georgia Grants portal to set up the reporting applications in SurveyMonkey Apply, they are completely separate. So that's one reason that we request that you keep all the information in the portal up to date as much as possible, because it is not a automatic and immediate update from the grant portal to the SurveyMonkey website. Any of that information that changes has to be manually changed by our staff. So just a little discussion as far as who's required to complete mandatory quarterly reporting. So the list of grant programs here, broadband infrastructure, capital projects fund, drinking water projects to support increased population, Georgia investments in housing, hospital improvements for disproportionately impacted communities, negative economic impact, school-based health centers, victim services, as well as water sewer infrastructure. Grantees in all of these grant programs are required to complete mandatory quarterly reporting. So all of these programs that I just mentioned, with the exception of Capital Projects Fund, are under state fiscal recovery funds as well. We also refer to that as SFRF. So since these are all under, except for Capital Projects Funds, since they're all under SFRF, they do have to adhere to the reporting guidelines as laid out in the SFRF Compliance and Reporting Guide, which I have linked here. So grantees can utilize this reporting guidance to understand what's being requested of them and that it is coming from Treasury. And so there are basic metrics required throughout each program to include things such as expense category, project status of completion, expenditures to date, and so forth. And while programs such as infrastructure projects have specific metrics laid out in the guidance, OPB may request additional metrics to include things such as the number of individuals served, crime statistics, and other things as applicable to each program. Davis-Bacon reporting as it goes forward for SFRF programs. So reporting for Davis-Bacon prevailing wage requirements does apply to projects funded with state fiscal recovery funds with a total project cost of $10 million or greater. And this is a total project cost, not just the grant award from SFRF. Davis-Bacon specifies the prevailing wages, including fringe benefits, which are determined to be prevailing for the described classes of laborers and mechanics employed on construction projects of a similar character in the localities specified therein. Recipients will have two options with regards to complying with this requirement in their quarterly reporting application. First, there's the option to certify that the project with a total project cost of $10 million or more complies with Davis-Bacon. Or the second option is, if you cannot certify that it complies with Davis-Bacon, as an alternative, you can complete and upload a project employment and local impact report that includes this listed information. This report's going to be linked in the reporting application for you to click to download that form. You will then complete it and then upload it to the reporting application. For capital projects funds, when it comes to Davis-Bacon reporting, Capital Projects Fund, also referred to as CPF, has a distinct CFDA, and therefore it has its own reporting and compliance guide that can be found at the link listed here. One main difference to note with regard to reporting for Capital Projects Fund is regarding the Davis-Bacon requirement. So it's different in that the threshold for Davis-Bacon, it differs from State Fiscal Recovery Fund broadband program. Davis-Bacon applies to projects funded with $5 million or more of CPF funds. So again, the two options for Davis-Bacon for CPF is going to be the same in the reporting application. Grantees can either certify that the project with CPF funding of $5 million or more complies with Davis-Bacon. If one cannot certify that, then they can complete and upload the project employment and local impact report. All right, so moving forward into basically the logistics and how to maneuver through the SurveyMonkey Apply website. So again, as I've already mentioned, SurveyMonkey Apply is completely separate from the Georgia Grants portal. So you go to the SurveyMonkey Apply website, you use your credentials to log in. And once you log in, you're going to see any available applications or even submitted applications if you have those as well. But anything you see with a green start or submit button is going to be something that's available for you to complete. So again, the quarterly reporting that's going to be for quarter one, that's covering January through March, is going to be available as of April 1st and will close on April 15th. So when you log in, you will not see this available until April 1st. But this is basically what your dashboard would look like. You would see at least one reporting application available for you. Once you log into the SurveyMonkey Apply dashboard, you're going to click the green Start button to start the reporting application. And then you're going to open it. And then you have to click on the actual task name as circled here. And once you click on that task name, you should be able to start completing the application. So just a little note that there are different user profiles. You can be the owner of an application or you can be a collaborator. So the owner is typically going to always be the primary point of contact on the application as it's listed in the grants portal. So that person is always going to be the person that we send out communications to, set up reporting for. That person's always going to be the owner of the reporting application. However, that person can also add collaborators to add, edit, and complete tasks. However, you need to understand that while a collaborator can complete a task or even edit and add information, they cannot submit the application. So if you are the owner of an application and you add collaborators and the collaborators come in and complete the application, you as the owner still need to log back in when that is complete and submit the application before the deadline. And this is showing you how on the left-hand side of the screen, there will be a button for you to add a collaborator. So once you click on the application task available, you're directed to the questions to be answered for the quarterly reporting. We ask that you answer the questions completely and as accurately as possible, as this information is provided to Treasury. If at any point you have any questions about what's being asked of you in the questions or you don't understand, please feel free to reach out to the program specialist to answer those questions and provide some clarification. After completing all the questions in the application, you'll need to click the green Mark as Complete button. And then you can also click Save and Continue Editing if you wish to complete it later. If you are finished, once you mark the task as complete, you'll be taken to this screen and you must click Submit in order for the application to be submitted. Simply clicking the Mark as Complete button does not submit it. So ensure that you mark as complete, which a collaborator can also do, but then you also need to make sure that you submit it, which is required for an owner to do. Once you click submit, you're going to have this pop-up screen that's asking for verification that you want to submit the application. If you are ready to submit, then you go ahead and click that green submit button. You will receive a confirmation that says that it's successful. So make sure that you do receive that. Again, clicking that mark as complete, clicking submit, and then verifying that you want to submit, and then you should receive this screen as verification that it has been successfully submitted. If you don't receive this screen, then there's probably been some reason that it was not successfully submitted. And if there's ever any question, if you feel like you've submitted the application and you don't get this screen or you just want to verify, you can also reach out to the program specialist to verify that information for you. All right, so one of the biggest questions that we've received, mainly through the last round of quarterly reporting, was in regards to lowest quintile income and median household income. So since this was so widely asked about, we created a short little PDF guide that provides you direction on how you can find this information for your location. And that's through, it's linked here, the PDF is. It's also available on our website. And basically, it's going to take you to the census website where you can drill down by location and find that information. So I know I've said it multiple times, but if throughout the reporting period you have any questions as far as what's being asked of you in the reporting application or how to maneuver through the website, anything along those lines, feel free to contact the program specialist for your program, which you can find the contact information for in the grants portal. Or if you have any general grant inquiries, you can always reach out to the grants@opb.georgia.gov email address. All right, that's all of the slides that I have. So I think we're going to go through and see if anybody has any specific questions as it goes for quarterly reporting specifically. Feel free to drop them in the chat too if you don't want to speak up. Yes, Mark is asking if we could get a copy of the slides. So they will be available on the website shortly. We're also gonna, this is being recorded, so we'll have the slides as well as the webinar posted as soon as possible. And then Mark also asked, will the year-end reporting be the same as quarterly? That's subject to other information, but typically, yes, it's going to be similar information, absolutely. Robin Gazaway, we'll have to look up your information. Make sure you reach out to either whoever your grant specialist is and ask about that, and we can get you that information. Sheila's asking, when an applicant has 2 or more ISP subrecipients, how do we address the differences in the answers for each ISP subrecipient? Sheila, do you want to kind of speak up and provide some clarification for that?
Yes, thank you. So I understand that the applicant looks at the summary of all of the information, but sometimes the answers to some of the questions that are yes, no, if they're not both yes, then how do we say subrecipient A answers yes and subrecipient B answers no?
So there's a, Sheila, this is Jen Wade. There is a box at the bottom of your, oh my goodness, your quarterly reporting task. At the very bottom, it asks you to explain anything that you need to explain throughout the document. And so you can put in there, assuming you're talking about one of the ISP that has maybe, 4 or 5 subrecipients underneath that, you would just indicate there. If you cannot wholeheartedly, let's take Davis-Bacon, for example, if it is a no across the board, or like one of your ISPs can certify Davis-Bacon and the others can't, then what you just need to do is go ahead and upload the project employment plans for all of your subrecipients who could not certify Davis-Bacon, and in the notes and the narrative at the bottom portion, let us know which of those ISPs do certify for Davis-Bacon, because that's what's going to go to Treasury. So if you have anything else throughout the application that may be reflected, really it's only going to impact you on probably like your Davis-Bacon, and then your project labor agreements and things like that. Those nuances can be captured in the narrative portion at the very bottom, so you can distinguish those. And then for the project locations that ISPs have to provide on the broadband front, you have an Excel template that you can very easily put your GA number in. You can put some sort of identifier next to it for whatever ISP that is. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and that's fine because that's all cumulative.
Yep.
But thank you for the other answers as well. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, thank you, Jonna. Robin Gazaway, I think Jonna provided that information in the chat for you. Thank you so much. Aaron's asking, will the survey link be available through the grants portal or will it be emailed to us? So what we're trying to do is send out the notifications through SurveyMonkey Apply, because all of you as points of contact have been added in there and set up for the quarterly reporting. But we're trying to send it out through SurveyMonkey Apply as well as through one of our OPB emails, whether that's mine personally or our grants at opb.georgia.gov, or it could also come from one of the program specialists at RSM. But we're trying to make sure that it's coming from a person as well as SurveyMonkey Apply to ensure that you all are receiving it in some form.
And we'll try to send it out through the portal as well, just so you have that there. The issue there is we'll send it, but as most of you remember from just even the application for first tranche and things like that, that for some reason tends to get stuck in everybody's junk box. So we apologize in advance for the many emails that you're going to be receiving on this, but we want to make sure, obviously it has to go out through SurveyMonkey Apply, but we want to make sure that everyone's getting it, and we certainly don't want it to get stuck in your spam filters.
Jonathan Coe, you're asking if we're still negotiating our grant agreement. Should we still submit the first report? Can you clarify what you mean by negotiating grant agreement?
Yeah, I think we have our grant agreement, but are kind of in conversation with our grant contract and have proposed kind of a different, some different options. Don't want to get into the weeds too much, but
Sure.
it's a little bit in limbo right now. So
Okay.
yeah, my question is just, would you still want us to submit the report by the deadline? Is it kind of a case by case thing?
I'm assuming your broadband? capital
No,
project?
the investments in housing.
And you haven't signed terms and conditions?
You know, I should know that. I think that we have signed, but then we're negotiating, kind of redrawing the parameters.
So okay, so if you have a signed terms and condition agreement with the state, which your time is on the housing is passed, so you should have had that if you're participating here. So if you have a signed terms and condition agreement, which is your grant agreement with the state, then you have to fill that out. So what that may look like, and this is really important for everybody, really, not just housing. So there'll be sections for like expenditures, and it may be that you haven't even started your project yet. So you would complete the first section, say, project not started, which is fine. If you're in planning phases, you may put, less than 50% or whatever makes sense for your particular project start timeframe. But just because you have a project that is not started doesn't mean that you should go straight to the submit button, because depending on the program, there are different questions in there. Again, about certifying, for Davis-Bacon, for example, is one of those. There may be other metrics about actual projected. I'm just going to throw broadband out there just because it's the first one that comes to mind. So on theirs, for example, even if you haven't started, you might have, you do on, for broadband state fiscal recovery funds, have a number of projected locations that you're going to versus actual. So the projected, maybe I'm just going to throw out there 100 locations, and you may not have gone to any of them. So you'd put 100 and 0, but your project may not have started, but you have those initial projected metrics, if that makes sense. So yes, the answer is you would go ahead and complete that. If you haven't started your project, that's fine, but just complete as much of the information as possible, and just put zeros or NAs where not applicable, because you don't have any expenditures, for example.
Okay, thanks.
Kathy Davis is asking for clarification. The reports will only be available between the 1st and 15th, even if holidays occur within those dates. That is correct. So we're giving you 2 full weeks to answer all the questions, and there's not a large amount of questions. Also, if you've already been established in the in the SurveyMonkey Apply platform, and you've done the quarterly reporting in the past, then you should be able to see last quarter's submission. So you already know what those questions are. They may have been changed slightly. We may have clarified something or try to make something a little bit more clear for you guys as the grantees, but typically they're going to be the same. So whoever completed that for your entity the previous quarter, if it was done by your organization, you can log in and see that.
And I just wanted to add to that, that gives us only 2 weeks to then amalgamate all of the data across all of our programs and combine it into a user-friendly treasury template that we can then upload. And so you guys have 2 weeks, we have 2 weeks, and it's not a whole lot of time for either one of us. But again, those metrics should say the same. It should be something you're used to tracking, and then we have to turn around and take all of that into one template and send it back to Treasury for each program.
Do we expect any quarterly reporting changes based on new requirements being put out by Treasury on a frequent basis? Absolutely. Anytime guidance or requirements are changed by Treasury, we have to adhere to those. So we would update that. We would make sure that we communicate that to you all. We may do a webinar such as this if there's been any changes in between quarters to kind of walk you through that, or provide it through email communication. But we would do our best to communicate that to you guys as quickly and efficiently as possible.
And the best way to stay abreast of that is going to be to always refer to the reporting and compliance guides that are appropriate for your program that Amanda just went through, because those have versions, and as they change, the link automatically updates and uploads the newest version of that. And so Treasury has been to date sending us, kind of precursor email letting us know of potential changes coming that they're changing the versions of. But we go in there regularly and we download a new copy of that. We kind of check for modifications and changes just in case the small minutia has changed. But as the grantee, it is your responsibility to remember to go and check those requirements as well. And we will that is available on our website 24/7 if you ever need to re-review those.
I think that's all the questions that have been listed in the chat. Anybody else have anything we haven't covered? Again, feel free to speak up or drop it in the chat. No more questions? Going once? Going twice? Okay, well, there's one more. Is the summary of changes available to grantees? You mean this, Jennifer Gainey, I believe you're referring to the summary of changes as far as what's being asked in the quarterly reporting? Can you clarify?
If it is for quarterly reporting on the guidance doc, so there is no track changes. Treasury doesn't even do that as well. So we have to go through and basically update our records based on what they provided. Again, that guidance is on our website. Treasury does usually send that out. And if it's something that we will, something changes, for example, let's just say they changed the threshold for Davis-Bacon, I'm just throwing something out there, then that is something that is very significant. We would send that to you via email to let you know the impact and to be expecting that on the next quarterly report. But as far as changes that you will see from last quarter on the report, really the biggest significance, I believe, there is just the after the Davis-Bacon, there is a project impact report. I'm sorry, a labor report, and there's two choices, just like the Davis-Bacon one, that we didn't collect on the last quarter that is required in the compliance and reporting guide. And so you'll see that. So if you go back to the compliance and reporting guide, it will mirror Treasury's requirements. And then again, as Amanda had indicated, for other things that we're collecting metrics on, if it's crime statistics, et cetera, those may be additional metrics that we're collecting from an OPB standpoint.
Anybody else have questions? How do I find out who the program specialist is for my program? Is there a list? So when you log into the portal, the Georgia Cares grant portal, it should be listed for you who your grant specialist is. So you can reach them. It'll have their email address and you can contact them that way. And if for some reason you can't find that information, or if you just have a general grant inquiry, you can always reach out to our grants@opb.georgia.gov email address. Are the slides available? They will be posted on the website. They'll probably be up on the website before the recording of the webinar, but the recording of the webinar will also be posted on the website as well. All right, guys, that looks like all the questions. So again, if for some reason, somebody speak up. No. If you do have any questions after this is over, again, reach out to your grant specialist or reach out to us at grants@opb.georgia.gov, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us so that you can kind of be ahead of the curve when it comes to quarterly reporting. Again, that's going to be live and available to you April 1st through April 15th, and the deadline is April 15th. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email us, and we greatly appreciate you joining us today.